So the Arizona Coyotes lost again last night to the Chicago Blackhawks, which puts their record on the season at 1-12-1. I mean, we all knew heading into the season that this team was going to be pretty bad, but like, holy crap, this might be the worst team in NHL history. For those of you who don't know, the team that currently holds the record for the fewest wins in a season are the 1974-75 Washington Capitals. They won a total of 8 games in an 80-game schedule. Their points percentage was .131, and right now the Arizona Coyotes points percentage this season is .107. They are on pace to be the worst team in NHL history. Now, yes, it has only been 14 games, and usually when it comes to stuff like this, I predict things to even out. Like, for an example, we talked about Troy Terry yesterday, who is currently scoring at over a 100-point pace, and I said I don't expect him to keep that up for the entirety of a season. I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel like the Arizona Coyotes won't keep this up for the entire season, but I honestly think there's a chance they do. There really isn't too many redeeming qualities about this team. There isn't really anything they're doing that says, oh, well, things are going to come around, they're playing well. They're not. They're getting caved in pretty much every game. Here's a look at some of their team stats and where they rank league-wide. Obviously 1-12-1, 8th in the Central Division. Their power play percentage is currently clicking at 11.8, which is the 29th worst in the league. They have a penalty kill percentage of 65.2, which is 30th in the league. In terms of shots on goal per game, they average 25.2, 32nd in the league. They're actually middle of the pack in terms of how many shots against they allow per game, so that's something, I guess. And as you can see at the bottom there, in terms of goals for per game, dead last in the league at 1.57, and they also give up the most goals against per game in the entire league. Like I said, not too many redeeming qualities about this team. There's nothing they're doing that screams they could turn this around. Now, before we go any further, I want to highlight a couple of bright spots because I do seriously feel bad for Arizona Coyotes fans, and I don't just want to crap on the team for the entire video. No matter how bad a team is, you usually can always pick out a couple of bright spots at the very least. These are in no particular order. Lawson Crouse, I feel like, has looked pretty good. He was a top draft pick back in 2015. For a while, it looked like he could be a pretty big bust, but over the past couple of seasons, I mean, he's turned himself into a pretty useful power forward. He's only 24 years old, still an RFA at the end of the season, and whether Arizona decides to keep him or move him out for assets, he's a positive asset right now at the very least. Scott Wedgwood is another one. They claimed him off of waivers, and he was actually in net when this team got their first win. He's 1-1 right now with the Coyotes, has a 939, which is, you know, a very small sample size, just 2 games, but on the Coyotes, a 939 nonetheless. And fun fact, the Arizona Coyotes actually started 0-10-1, I believe it was in 2017-18, and then they claimed Scott Wedgwood off of waivers in that season, and he got them their first win. So the exact same thing happened this year. And then the final bright spot I'll bring up, Shane Gostisbehere. It seems like he's kind of reviving his career a little bit in Arizona. He's leading the team in points with 11 through 14 games. If he keeps this up, I imagine there would be some teams interested in him at the deadline. He does have one more year after this season on his deal still, so I feel like Arizona would probably have to retain some salary to get a deal done, but again, like I said with Lawson Crouse, I feel like he's a positive asset right now. Oh yeah, and how could I forget another positive is they have probably the nicest jerseys in the league. Those Kachina jerseys are so clean, both the home and away. I want one. I just wish there was a player on the team worth getting a jersey of. That sounds kind of harsh, but you guys know what I mean. Like, if Shane Wright gets drafted to Arizona, then I would get a Kachina Shane Wright jersey. I really want to know what you guys think, so let me know down below in the comments. Do you think this year's Arizona Coyotes team has a chance to pass the 74-75 Capitals for the worst team in NHL history? Like I said earlier, I seriously think they do. Another thing that I feel like I should mention is this team could get worse after the deadline because there is a foolish amount of pending UFAs on this roster right now, and I'm sure Arizona is going to try to sell off everyone they possibly can that has any value. We'll see what happens. This team is very clearly tanking, and hey, they picked a good year to tank. Shane Wright is looking like he's going to be a franchise-altering player, but hey, as a Red Wings fan, trust me, I know even though your team is the worst in the league and you have the best odds at the first overall pick, you're still probably not going to get it. As much as I would like Shane Wright to go to a big market team, I do actually want him to go to the Coyotes because they desperately need a player like him. They got some good prospects, you know, Barrett Hayton, Victor Soderstrom, I believe he's actually playing some games this year. Dylan Genther as well, but they don't really have a prospect that screams, face of the franchise, right? So those are my quick thoughts on the Arizona Coyotes and their start to the season. They actually play the Nashville Predators in a couple of hours, and usually when I make videos like this, I jinx teams, so if you like to bet on games, take Arizona. Of course, let me know down in the comments how you feel about this team. Do you think they could be the worst team in NHL history, or do you think they'll turn it around just enough to not be the worst team in NHL history? And while you're down there, if you could, leave the video a like, I'd really appreciate it. And if this is your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you soon.